Good day to you. Good day to you. Many questions have been asked these days because, perhaps because of the uncertainties of the pandemic and its consequences. One question is, what is this all adding to? You see, man's dealing with man was becoming increasingly selfish, even wicked, if I may say so, that people are largely concerned for individual freedoms only without corporate responsibilities. So what happened was family structures were being disregarded or dishonored, and marital infidelity was rampant, and marriage and divorce was getting increasingly easy, parents neglecting children, then children seeking their own future, even for the first degree or just after O-level, and going for their future education abroad, seeking their own future, never returning. Then the LGBTQ agenda, which minimized, decimated marriage and God's way of thinking. And then transgenderism, it's real child abuse when it comes to giving anabolic steroids to girls and vice versa, and similarly female hormones to boys without the consent of parents, and all those laws were in place. Then pedophilia was terrible. So there were many things that was tantamount to human life being degraded by humanity themselves, and different global bodies making laws to facilitate such things happening. So while that was on, we found it was as if the world or the globe, Earth was showing up signs of antiquity or aging. So there were more earthquakes, and food production was going down. So there were signs, and in the oceans, there were real signs of ocean warming and trouble, El Nino, La Nina, ecosystems failing. And part of it was that we had consumed over 40 years in the great reset of man, wanting to consume everything since, let's say, since 1970. We had just started consuming and rapacious living, that ecosystems and world's limited resources could not be renewed because the consumerism was so high. And this was not for the basic needs like housing, education, medical, or for such things, and for food, but it was for fashion, armament, motor industry, confectionaries, cosmetics, toys, IT. These are the industries that became top dollar spinning industries. So while all men, or every after the Second World War, world got a reprieve, so to say, that every nation could have done very well. Every nation could have done very well. Just the way South Korea became a major industrial nation since from 1950 onwards. The Korean War was in 1956. Since the Second World War, world that could have run down with nuclear waste and so on, got a chance to live again. But how did they live again? All guns roaring and consuming as much as possible. So this was the situation. So the earth aging showed up. Man disregarding God's good designs for family, human life showed up. Abortion. Now live births are less than the ones killed with abortion showed up. Pedophilia became an international trade. Human trafficking became an international trade. Then sex trafficking became an international trade. So all these things added up to human degradation, and then comes the plandemic, where our health is targeted to have enforced global health laws. So we wonder what are other things that will follow up. So in Luke chapter 21, in this famous passage, which was the last public talk by the Lord Jesus Christ, the question was asked, the Lord Jesus Christ pointed to the mount of the Temple Mount and said, this temple will be dismantled stone by stone. He said that. And that happened in 70 AD. So any building, even after a bomb, does not get dismantled stone by stone. Then what happened to the Temple of Jerusalem, which was built by Herod to please the Jews, which was a wonder of the ancient world? What happened was, when the gold melted, when it was set on fire by the invading Roman army under the general Titus, who later became an emperor of Rome, when it was set fire, the gold melted and the gold went into the crevices between the rocks. So to take the gold, the Roman soldiers dismantled the temple stone by stone, literally, physically, just the way the Lord Jesus Christ said it. So in that dialogue, disciples asked, what will be the sign of your coming? What will be the sign of the end of the age and the end of the world? Then Lord Jesus Christ said, this is what he said: there will be wars, disturbances, do not be terrified, for the end is not yet. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. So there will be increasing animus between nation and nation. They are not living like families, but nations living like enemies. Now what has happened with the plandemic drive for some time, global rulers planning to get at all the nations under their thumb. That's what has happened. So health laws first, trade laws first, because some global rulers have become so rich, 15 new billionaires in 1 year. So from 1950 to 2020, just 70 years, just the lifespan, world changed so much. What next? And the major change was that out of the GDP, now 99% of the world's GDP is in the hands of 1%. And the black economy of the world is twice more, or even 3 times more, than the economy that runs through legal government. Now there are a lot of talk about money laundering, but money laundering happens in major cities as well, major nations as well, because there is a black economy of the global rulers. So this is how he said, what will be the signs? He said this: when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, and then Jerusalem will fall to foreign nations who are called Gentiles, until the time of Gentiles be fulfilled. So this is how it is said. What will happen to Jews, because there's a lot of interest in Israel, and Israel is like a time clock. This little nation that has supplied 1/4 of Nobel Prizes, what's so special about it? And always it has been a land bridge between 3 continents, Europe, Asia and Africa, and many major wars. And you can see again, Israel is coming into focus. Whether there will be a solution to the Middle Eastern problem. So it's like a sign. So why is it so? Because the Lord Jesus Christ said in his last sermon, and they will fall by the edge of the sword. This is Luke 21:24. They will fall by the edge of the sword and will be led captive into all the nations, and Jerusalem will be trampled underfoot by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles are fulfilled. So how long was Jerusalem trampled? Till 1967. In 1967, after that 6-day war, Jerusalem became Israel, the capital of the nation of Israel, which means the other nations don't have rule over Jerusalem anymore. So then we have this statement. This statement says that Jerusalem will be trampled by other nations until the time of other nations are fulfilled. So we are in that slot. The time of other nations were fulfilled in 1967. Then he said there will be other signs setting up. So we have earth aging, and signs of earth aging and ecological disasters, and that earth's resources are dwindling. And then we have humanity's wickedness increasing, particularly the family design, which was God's design to hold the world together, every society together. The family design disrupted, marriage, children's education, care of next generation, one generation by the next generation, disrupted, sexual perversion, all that disrupting the family. God's basic design, God created man in his image and woman in his image, so that the two put together bear the image of God. All that was disrupted. So first one, the signs from aging world. Second one, signs from aging globe. Second one, signs from disrupted societal behavior, especially family life, abortions rampant. Third sign comes from Israel, the time clock. That is to say, in 1967, this was fulfilled, that Jerusalem came back under Israel, which means this Luke 21:24 is already done until the times of the other nations are fulfilled. Now the time of the other nations are fulfilled. What will happen then? Immediate verse says in 25, there will be signs in the sun and moon and stars, on the earth dismay among nations, in perplexity of the roaring of the sea and of the waves. Now if this was said at some other time, you would think the Bible has gone bonkers, because what is the meaning of this? Sea is always roaring. But now we know in our time, when this verse says, Luke 21:25 says, perplexity at the roaring of the seas, there is a problem with the oceans warming, and there is a problem with La Nina and El Nino and other ecological phenomena that we are seeing that sign also fulfilled. So in the midst of all this comes the plandemic, that's why the plandemic is so critical. Many people are wondering and asking other people, what does your holy book say? So many has asked me, that's why I thought of doing this study. What does your holy book say? Because the plandemic came on the heel of so many other phenomena. So he answers this in Matthew chapter 24. A nation will rise against nation. There will, in various places, there will be plagues, famines and earthquakes. He says that. So the issue of famine and plagues come. Famine, and Luke 21 also has the issue of famine and plagues, and then came the plandemic. Then the last book of the Bible gives many details of what will happen in the world, what changes will come. And last book of the Bible, Revelation chapter 6, describes 4 horses. Now, I have seen some of my doctor friends putting up posts on the FB about apocalyptic horses. Now this was religious language, but completely secular. Medical doctors are asking, what are these 4 horses? So let's look at the 4 horses. Revelation chapter 6, the first horse is a white horse. He had a crown, and in his hand there was a bow, and he is shooting invisible arrows for his conquest. So that his weapons are invisible arrows. I am suggesting they are philosophies. Arrows are philosophies, and that he is going about conquering and to conquer these false philosophies that are taking on the world. It's not by war, by false philosophies. So one such false philosophy is the LGBTQ agenda and so on. So we have entered that time of false philosophies. Then the next horse is red. He has a sword in his hand, and that would be the world wars and bloodshed and so on, maybe even terrorism, communism. Third horse is black, and the black horse has a pair of scales in his hand, and it is all economic manipulation that is making food scarce, food expensive, and the rich have it well. So I told you 99% of the world's GDP is owned by 1% of the world's elite. They are the ones who are planning the global control, and the pandemic shutdown stop has all contributed to few becoming rich and national governments not knowing what to do about their own nations, because the policy is laid from a few planners whose actions become visible and nations suffer. But now you will say, different times there were philosophies, different times there was war, different times there was economic manipulation. Black horse is the economic manipulation. I would say yes, different times there were things like that. But here is the fourth horse that has not been there before. Look, behold a deathly colored horse, who sat on it and had the name Death, was following with him. Authority was given to him over fourth of the earth to kill with the sword, with famine, and with plagues. So here is the plague thing coming up, that one plague after the other. So we have got COVID-19. What will be next? So there was no event like COVID-19 that went all over the world and shut down the world. Now this is what takes everybody's attention, because Revelation chapter, last book of the Bible, chapter 18 verse 8 says, you can refer it up, for this reason in one day her plagues will come, pestilence and mourning and famine. So in one day, the shutdown, the cities of the world will get shut down in one day. So that's the time in which we are living. This is why this is interesting. What more is there to come? So I told you evidence from the global scene, the age of the earth, tectonic plates creaking, earthquakes are increasing, oceans are roaring, corals are down to 40%. I explained before, if corals are down to 33%, in the body, corals are the kidney of the body, kidney of the globe. In the human body, if corals are down to 33%, the kidney is down to 33%, it will be chronic renal failure, acid-base balance will be affected. So world's corals are down to 40%. What will be next? Then comes the human degradation, with family structures all disrupted, and abortion, transgenderism, LGBTQ rampant, pedophilia, human trafficking, sex trafficking. Thirdly comes the Israel, the time clock, that Jerusalem is now under Israel, which means the nation of Israel's time, the time of the other nations is down. And Jesus Christ make a pronouncement like this, that the generation that sees Jerusalem return to the Jews will also see all that is yet to happen on the world. So in 1967 we saw Jerusalem return to Israel under Jews, and the Lord Jesus Christ said that generation that sees Jerusalem returning to the Jews will also see rest of the world events that will march to a climactic situation when nations are ready for a war called Armageddon. Now the strange thing is, the book of Revelation describes Armageddon. The very word Armageddon, it's a place called Megiddo. So Leon Uris wrote a book on the Second World War, and the name of the book was Armageddon. And Revelation chapter 9 says, into this Armageddon, kings of the east, from the east, will move infantry, armored infantry of 200 million. Revelation chapter 9 verse 16, the number of the armies of the horsemen was 200 million. I heard the number of them. And they move across from the east, across the Euphrates to the Middle East. Now chapter 16 says the exact place of the war that is due to happen. So now it is interesting that there's a highway already made and ready from China. They are going to extend it to Afghanistan. So the recent inclusion of Afghanistan in the Belt and Road project of China tells us that these phenomena are not just hearsay, they are happening before our eyes. So Revelation chapter 16 says, great river, verse 12, great river the Euphrates, and its water was dried up, so that the way would be prepared for the kings from the east. Kings from the east. So that's a direct reference to China, and nobody else can move an armored infantry of 200 million. Only China can. So John the Apostle foresaw that there would be a nation rising as big as China. So America getting neutralized has made China the only, the most powerful global player. And already China is threatening Taiwan, saying we are going to take you over. So that's how it is going. And in Revelation chapter 16, we are told this very place, behold, the war of the great day, and they gathered them together to the place which in Hebrew is called Ha-Megaddon. So the exact place is located, and the exact place is there in the map, north of Israel, a huge valley called Megiddo or Ha-Megaddon, and many wars have been fought there by Alexander, Napoleon, and so on. So I have given you a list of signs: globe aging, humanity increasingly declining and going into perversion and wickedness. 3, the time clock of Israel, Jerusalem returning to their own kind. 4, the signs of a true movement. And 5thly, then comes the plandemic, that is shutting down the world's cities in one day. That's what the plandemic does. So here it is, standing afar, saying, great city Babylon, for in 1 hour it's going to get shut down. For in 1 hour such great wealth has been laid waste. Every shipmaster and every passenger is one. And they threw dust on their head and said, in 1 hour all the riches have been laid waste. So we can see that the shutdown phenomenon of the world city in 1 hour has happened in our lifetime. So there is food for thought. What next? I am Dr. Lalith Mendis. All my scientific clips are available, and spiritual clips are available from my app, Golden Nuggets. It's free download from Google or from App Store. Also, if you want any other clips, mention the title you want and send a WhatsApp number to 076 313 4800. Thank you for yes.